Alright, it is day 4 of Brickcon, the last day. It is Sunday. We were up crazy late last night until probably like 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning. So we had a good time. We're gonna go hang out at the convention floor during public hours for a little bit. We started our day with getting an interview with Kimberly, who designed the model that won Best of Show. Alright, so we're here with Kimberly, and this is her gardens, and you just won an award for it, so congratulations on that.
A second award for it.
A second award for it, which is even more impressive. So can you tell us a little bit about the process? I know you said you were inspired by the chocolate shop, so...
So yeah, I was inspired by the chocolate shop to build in this scale. Kind of funny, I started with the doors of the house and the greenhouse as kind of the first thing to get the scale, because if you have a door down, then you kind of have a ceiling height and you kind of have a window height, and you kind of have a thing. And then I went through my entire collection of 4x6 window frames, and that kind of determined the scale of the greenhouse itself. I didn't have too many extra ones after I used all of them in that, so that kind of was one of the, kind of limited a little bit by the pieces in your collection.
Yeah.
One of the cool pieces I had just gotten before building it was all the white filigree fences in a quantity, and they just kind of screamed greenhouse. Another kind of unique thing is I actually visited greenhouses and took pictures to get kind of a feel of what's in there and how they're displaying plants, and what little features I wanted to have in there. And
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And so are there any like plants here that you would say are your favorite that you made here? Because see, there's a large assortment of plants. So
This squirrel tree is definitely one of my favorites. The little green leafy stems is a new piece for me, and so I've never used the technique, and I've never had them in quantity to actually build a tree with all the little leafy stems. Some of the other plants I really like are the, I guess, the dragon scale type plants, which are these ones over here, where they're like the scale tooth ones. And just stacking them one on top of another to make like these columns.
A really unique technique, for sure. Yeah.
Definitely a unique thing. And then it was just playing around with different techniques, and when you have such a big space to cover, you kind of can just use every technique for plants and try everything.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And then how long did this take you, and roughly how many pieces do you think?
So I started in March, and kind of went in like bits and starts. Like I finished one section, like I think I had the greenhouse building itself done by April. I have no idea how many parts.
Okay.
I know the green leafy stems, there's probably about 500 of those parts alone.
Yeah, okay.
The little roof tiles, I know there's 200 or 300 of those. When you start building this style of building, you're not picking big pieces, you're picking little plates and just stacking them, and which ones will give you texture. And yeah, thousands and thousands, and I don't have any idea.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Oh yeah.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much for
the koi. What about the koi? Let's talk about the koi.
Talk about the koi. So for the koi, how did you prototype this mechanism, or like what inspiration gave you this idea?
Well, I knew I wanted to do the scale, and I knew I wanted to do a movement in a mock, and I I do Lego STEM with kids, and so I'm kind of familiar, at least, with the power functions and using Technic and gear, and I've been doing that for a couple of years. So it wasn't too out of my wheelhouse to consider how am I going to do this. Okay, what are going to be the challenges? I need to definitely figure out a way to have my whole gear assembly lie as flat as possible, to have it be underneath the rock work along the side, and so all of the koi are on rotating 40-tooth gears because that would give them the most amount of motion. I found a model or a technique to use a worm gear in like a chassis type of system to slow the whole thing down, because most of the time when you have something on a motor, it's fast and it's curious, and I wanted something to be more subtle, that when you looked at it you didn't even necessarily notice that there was motion until you were like, oh my gosh, there's motion.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So
congrats. It might be my favorite build.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Oh, not a problem.
About it.
The next thing we ended up doing was getting an interview with Brickcon and Nick, who was from LEGO Masters Season 3, and about his experience with being on LEGO Masters and about his experience with LEGO in general.
Here with Nick, also known as Brickcon and Nick on Twitch. He was one of the contestants for LEGO Masters 3. So could you tell us a little bit about just your experience, how the process was getting there? And
yeah, for sure. I'll tell you as much as I can anyways.
Yes, of course.
So, you know, as you would imagine, like the more you put yourself out there, the more likely you are to be found for that kind of thing. I never like kind of applied on my own. I was reached out to, and like people were like, hey, we're interested in having you on the show. You built some really cool stuff, which was awesome to hear. And so from there I kind of went through some of the steps. You fill out an application and stuff, and then from there you kind of do some other things that slowly help lead you into ending up on the show. Yeah, and the experience with the show was wild. Definitely like one of the most fun things I've ever done, but also probably the most exhausting and intense. Yeah. Like they tell you the days are really long and intense, but like until you're doing them and in it, you like really don't realize just how intense it is. But I would certainly be happy to do it again. I had so much fun. You know, the challenges are obviously super cool and push you to build with Lego in ways that you would never imagine. One of my fellow contestants, Liz, always says it's like Lego acrobatics, really. Yeah. Like you're doing things with Lego you just couldn't have ever imagined.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I know you from Twitch. So can you tell us a little bit about your Twitch experience, how that started?
For sure, for sure. So I discovered Twitch a little over 6 years ago. And at that time, they were really pushing creative as being a thing that you can find and do on Twitch. And so I was like, okay, well, there's this huge platform I've never heard of. You know, millions of people use it, and they're looking for creative stuff. And I'm like, cool, there's got to be people doing Lego on here, right? Like, just there's Lego YouTubers and Instagrammers and whatever. And there just wasn't. So I was really surprised by that. And I was like, oh, maybe this could be something I can try. And so I started streaming, and around the same time, funnily enough, like a couple other people were figuring it out as well. And so we slowly built up a little bit of a Lego community, and we just found it was like an awesome way for us to share our passion with the world and have people share their passions with us and kind of bounce feedback off each other, you know, share building tips and techniques. So it was a lot of fun for us to kind of explore and develop that.
Yeah, and then we were talking last night about when you started. Can you tell us a little bit about your start into Lego generally and like some of your interest in mocking and all that?
So my interest in Lego just really never faded away. I have loved building since I was a very little kid, like 2 or 3 years old. I remember having some building blocks at my grandmother's, and then at some point my grandparents took me to Walmart to buy a Lego set, and it was just kind of all downhill from there. And then around the time where like I think most people sort of lose interest in Lego, when you're getting a little bit older and you're kind of outgrowing it, I discovered Flickr, and there was a huge Lego community on Flickr at the time. And that was the place for people to share mocks and their own builds. And I was just so inspired by all the stuff that I was seeing there that I was like, oh man, I definitely want to keep doing this, because I enjoyed doing creative building already, and just seeing what people are doing really inspired me to want to continue to develop my own building skills.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, awesome. Thank you so much for chatting with us. Anything you'd like to shout out?
Honestly, just keep pursuing what you love doing. Like, it's led me into places I never imagined. If you had told me as a little kid I'd be on Lego Master someday, or that I would be able to do content creation full time. Like these are things I could have never dreamed of. But just by taking a chance with sticking the thing that I love doing, with sticking with the thing I love doing, it led me to do some of the coolest things ever. So yeah, just never give up on being a kid and doing what you love.
And congratulations on being on the show.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
You'll have to wait and see.
And that is a wrap up of Brickcon 2022. Sadly, Saturday was kind of the most boring day as a lot of people were packing up, and it was kind of just like you were there for the public time, and then since me and my friends were really tired from the day previous, we kind of just kept low key this time and didn't really do much other than like kind of nap. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully you enjoyed all the interviews. Hopefully you enjoyed the whole 4-day vlog. Please let me know in the comments what you think of this, if you'd be interested in more of this in the future. Maybe more interviews with other builders or other MOC creators or other LEGO people in the community. Just let me know what you think. And as always, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.